You are going to die with unused potential. Not because you are not capable, not because the opportunities were not there, because you spent your most valuable years believing you had more of them than you did. Here is the number nobody shows you. The average human life is 30,000 days. That is it. Not millions, not hundreds of thousands, 30,000. And if you are 30 years old right now, you have already spent 11,000 of them. Gone. Permanently. Non-refundable. That leaves you roughly 19,000 days. And here is the question that should be keeping you up at night. What are you actually doing with them? Because most people are not living their days, they are surviving them. And by the end of this, you will understand exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how to stop it. But first, let me show you something about time that will change how you experience every single day that follows. You know that feeling where summer used to last forever? When you were a kid, a single afternoon felt like a week. A summer felt like an entire lifetime. But now, you blink and January is March. You blink again and it is December. Years that used to feel enormous now feel like weeks, and most people just accept this as a fact of getting older. But here is what is actually happening inside your brain. Your brain does not measure time in hours and minutes. It measures time in new experiences. When you were a child, everything was new. Every day your brain was recording, paying attention, logging new information constantly, which made time feel slow and rich and full. But as an adult, you wake up at the same time, eat the same breakfast, take the same route, do the same tasks, watch the same kind of content, and your brain stops recording. It recognizes the pattern and goes into autopilot. Just another normal day. Nothing worth logging. And when your brain is not recording, time disappears. Weeks vanish, months blur, years collapse, and you arrive at a birthday or a new year and think, where did the time go? The answer is, it did not go anywhere. You just stopped paying attention to it. And that is the first thing you need to fix. Here is something almost nobody talks about. There is a specific cognitive trap that accelerates this problem. We consistently overestimate what we can do in a day and dramatically underestimate what we can do in a year. Which means most people are chronically disappointed on a daily basis and chronically shocked by how much is possible over 12 months. This creates a dangerous cycle. You set a big goal. Day 1 feels slow. Progress is invisible. You quit. And you quit right before compounding would have made the progress visible. The people who build remarkable lives understand this asymmetry. They do not judge their progress by the day. They judge it by the year. They stay patient on the daily level and stay ambitious on the annual level. That is not motivation. That is just understanding how time actually works. Now let me show you the second problem. And this one is more dangerous than the first. Most people are not living their priorities. They are living someone else's urgency. Here is how to test this right now. Think about yourself at 90 years old. Looking back at your life. What will you actually care about? Not what you think you should care about, what you will genuinely care about. Will you care about that extra hour at the office? Or will you care about the dinner you skipped to finish the report? Will you care about the opinion of someone who has already forgotten you exist? Or will you care about the relationship you neglected because of them? This is called the deathbed test. And it is one of the most clarifying tools available to any human being, because from that vantage point, the noise disappears completely. What is left is signal, the actual priorities, the things that actually mattered. And here is the brutal reality. Most people already know what those things are right now. Without waiting until they are 90, they know what matters. They just keep choosing the urgent over the important, the visible over the meaningful, the immediate over the lasting. Because the urgent screams and the important whispers. And in a world designed to maximize noise, most people never hear the whisper. So here is the framework. 2 lists. List 1. Write down everything you want in your life. Goals, experiences, relationships, skills, places, versions of yourself. All of it. List 2. Circle the top 3. The 3 that if you achieve nothing else would make your life feel complete. Now look at everything you did not circle. That is your avoid list. Not because those things are bad, but because your attention is a finite resource. And every yes to something on the avoid list is a no to something on the top 3. This is not time management. This is priority architecture. And it is the single most effective way to stop living accidentally and start living deliberately. But here is where most people get it wrong. They do the exercise, they feel the clarity, and then they open social media. And the avoid list wins again. So let me explain what is actually competing for your attention. Social media is not designed to be useful. It is designed to be irresistible. Every notification, every scroll, every refresh is an engineered dopamine trigger, and dopamine does not care about your priorities. It only cares about the next hit. Which means every time you pick up your phone out of habit, you are not making a choice. You are following a pattern that was designed for you by someone else, for someone else's financial benefit, not yours. Here is the contrast. The people who build lives they are proud of did not have better discipline, they had better defaults. They made the important thing easy and the distraction hard, not through willpower, through design. Phone in another room during deep work. Notifications off by default. Social media only accessible at one specific time per day because willpower depletes, design does not. Now let me talk about relationships. Because this is where most people misunderstand how life actually works. Relationships work exactly like bank accounts. Every genuine interaction is a deposit. Every selfish interaction is a withdrawal. And just like a real bank account, you cannot withdraw what you never deposited. But here is the part nobody tells you. Most people believe relationships are built through grand gestures, the expensive gift, the birthday celebration, the big apology. But research consistently shows the opposite. Relationships are built in the small moments. The random check-in message, the remembered detail, the presence during a difficult Tuesday, not the Christmas gift, the Tuesday. And here is something counterintuitive about human connection. Shared difficulty builds stronger bonds than shared pleasure. The friend who was there during your worst year means more than the friend you have the most fun with. Because going through something hard together creates a depth of trust that no amount of good times can replicate. So stop waiting for the big moment to invest in the people who matter. The small moments are the big moments. Let me shift to something that will change how you think about your career. The biggest career mistake most people make is this: they optimize for money too early. In your 20s and early 30s, the most valuable thing you can accumulate is not income. It is knowledge, skills, capabilities. Because here is how it actually works. Every skill you develop is a lottery ticket for future opportunity. And the people with the most tickets win the most often, not because they got lucky, because they bought more tickets consistently over years, and money follows knowledge, always. The person who spent their 20s building rare and valuable skills will out-earn the person who chased the highest salary at 25 for the rest of their career. Here is the other thing. Forget the career ladder. The ladder is a lie. Modern careers are not linear. They are more like a jungle gym. You move sideways, sometimes diagonally, sometimes backward to go further forward later. Every lateral move is not a step down. It is a new skill, a new perspective, a new capability added to a combination that eventually becomes irreplaceable. The person who has only moved straight up the ladder in one field is infinitely more replaceable than the person who built an unusual combination of skills across multiple domains. Unusual combinations are where careers become extraordinary. Now let me talk about something most productivity content completely ignores: energy. Because time without energy is useless. You can have 4 free hours and zero mental capacity to use them. You have not gained 4 hours, you have wasted them. And most people are running their most important hours on depleted energy. Here is the science. Sleep deprivation impairs your decision making to the same degree as clinical intoxication. Read that again. The promotion you're working toward, the relationship you are trying to build, the business you are trying to grow. All of them depend on your brain operating at its best. And every hour of sleep you sacrifice in the name of productivity reduces the quality of every hour of work that follows. The math is never in your favor, and physical movement is not a reward for a productive day. It is the mechanism that produces one. A 10-minute walk does more for your cognitive clarity than a second coffee. Not because of the steps, because movement triggers neurological processes that improve thinking, memory, and decision making. Your body was not designed to sit for 8 hours, it was designed to move, and when it does not, everything else suffers. Here is a concept that will change how you handle difficult emotions, and I want you to understand the science behind it, because this is not soft advice, this is biology. The chemicals that create any emotion in your body: anger, fear, anxiety, frustration, last exactly 90 seconds. 90 seconds. After that, the chemical response is complete, and you are choosing to continue the emotion, not experiencing it, choosing it. Which means most of the emotional suffering people carry is not an involuntary response to life. It is a habit, a pattern of thought that re-triggers the chemical response over and over, long after the initial cause has passed. And once you understand that, you gain a kind of power over your emotional life that most people never access. You cannot control the first 90 seconds. That is just human biology. But everything after that, that is a choice. And here is the practical application. The difficult conversations you have been avoiding. Avoiding them does not make the emotional debt disappear. It compounds it. Every day you wake to have the difficult conversation, the emotional debt grows larger. The conversation becomes harder. The relationship deteriorates further. The uncomfortable truth is this. The conversation you are most afraid to have is almost always the exact conversation that would change everything. Have it. Let me bring this together with the financial dimension, because money and time are not separate categories. They are the same category. Money is stored time. When you earn money, you are converting hours of your life into a transferable resource. Which means how you spend money is how you spend your life. And most people have this backwards. They spend money on objects and rent experiences. But here is what research on human happiness consistently shows. Objects depreciate. Experiences appreciate. The car loses value the moment you drive it. The trip you took 5 years ago is still generating meaning, perspective, and memory today. The dinner with someone you love will be worth more to you at 90 than any possession you ever owned. So the financial wisdom is not just about building wealth. It is about allocating money toward the things that actually compound in value over a lifetime. And here is the piece most people miss. Building financial margin is not about restriction. It is about creating space. When you live below your means, you are not depriving yourself. You are buying optionality. The option to take a risk. The option to leave something that is not working. The option to say yes to something unexpected and extraordinary. Margin is freedom, and freedom is time. Here is the mindset shift that makes all of this work. Most people treat their life as something that happens to them. Events arrive, they react, time passes, things change, or they do not, and they remain largely passive in the process. The shift is treating your life as a design project, not a plan, a design, because planning assumes you know the outcome in advance. Design assumes you will need to test, adjust, and iterate. Most people overvalue planning and undervalue testing. They spend years figuring everything out in their heads before taking a single action in the real world. But here is the truth. You cannot think your way into the right life. You have to test your way there. Small experiments, real feedback, honest adjustment. One change for 30 days. Observe what happens. Keep what works. Discard what does not. Repeat. That process, applied consistently over years, produces a life that is specifically calibrated to who you actually are. Not who you thought you were before you tried anything. Let me close with this. 30,000 days. That number is not meant to depress you. It is meant to wake you up. Because here is the paradox. The people who truly understand the shortness of life are not anxious about it. They are liberated by it. Because once you accept the limit, you stop treating your days as infinite, and you start treating them as what they actually are, irreplaceable. You stop tolerating the things that drain your one life. You stop waiting for the right moment to start the thing that matters. You stop confusing being busy with being alive, and you start asking the only questions that actually matter. What do I want today to contain? What am I building this week that I will be glad I built? What will I wish I had spent more time on when the time is gone? And then you act on the answers. Not perfectly, not all at once, not after the fear disappears. Now, because here is the final truth. Your habits become your days become your years become your life. Which means the small decision you make today about where your attention goes, about who gets your energy, about what you build instead of just consume, that decision is not small at all. It is the entire thing. So pick one idea from today. Just one. And do something with it before this day ends. Not someday. Today. Because today is one of your 30,000 and you do not get it back.